It's Monday, November 22nd, and this is now on HNN.
Main Street in Waukesha, Wisconsin is back open after an SUV plowed into a holiday parade. I'm Marissa Parra with the details on this devastating tragedy.
People crying, screaming because we didn't know what was going on.
Here at home, an investigation is underway following a leak at the Navy's Red Hill fuel storage facility.
We have the quail today. Are we missing the quail?
Plus, planning a trip to Vegas, we'll show you how buffets are making a comeback on the 9th Island.
Everybody wants to beat Vegas, and one way they think they can do it is by out-eating them in the buffet.
These stories and more coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for watching This Is Now. We want to get started with this still developing story. Police say they have a suspect in custody in connection with that deadly rampage at a holiday parade in Wisconsin.
That's right. At least 5 people were killed and dozens more, including children, were injured. We have Marissa Parra with the latest on the developments from Waukesha.
Police have identified the driver of this SUV who plowed into a crowd at a holiday parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, as 39-year-old Darrell Brooks of Milwaukee. Police say he was fleeing a domestic disturbance and that he acted alone.
There's no evidence that this is a terrorist incident.
We got about 10 to 15 people down in the street. We also got multiple critical cases.
Police say an officer shot at the SUV to try to stop it, but had to stop firing to avoid the crowd. The 5 victims who died range in age between 52 to 81 years old.
Waukesha has held what can be described as a Norman Rockwell type of Christmas parade for almost 6 decades. Last night, our wonderful Waukesha parade became the scene of a horrific tragedy.
We saw the whole thing happen.
Richard Locke's son and niece were marching in the parade, came home later to find that same SUV went through his yard, damaging a car.
You think in hindsight about what response you could have to stop the guy, and it's just, even if I was right in front of it, it would have been hard to stop it. I mean, he was going probably 30 to 35 miles an hour when he went past.
Main Street where this happened is now back open, but what remains is the paint where police marked off evidence left on the road. President Biden spoke about the tragedy this afternoon.
And an entire community is struggling to cope with the horrific act of violence.
Brooks will face 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, and possibly other charges could be coming. Marissa Parra, CBS News, Waukesha, Wisconsin.
The State Department of Health is reporting 92 new COVID-19 infections today, pushing the statewide total of cases during the pandemic to 86,939. There were no new COVID-19 related fatalities reported today. And this just in, we just got an update from Governor Ige about the state's response to the pandemic. He was speaking to the Star Advertiser.
And as you may be aware, the current emergency proclamation expires at the end of this month. And I've been working with the mayors to really talk about what happens in this next phase. We do expect in the next day or so, and definitely before Thanksgiving, to make an announcement about what changes would be in store beginning December 1st. So we recognize that we need to relax restrictions. We think that we've been responsible in slowly making the restrictions less so, and we continue to see good results and outcomes. So we will be looking at how we can move to this next phase.
Well, we've learned there's an investigation underway right now after another leak at the Red Hill fuel storage facility. Sammy Selena has the details on that. Sammy, what do we know?
Hi, Jonathan. So we know that about 14,000 gallons of fuel and water leaked from a drain line in a tunnel about a quarter mile from the fuel tanks. Now, Navy officials say the pipe is not connected to the main tanks or fuel pipelines. The Navy also tells us the leak was contained and transferred to an above-ground storage tank. The facility sits about 100 feet above Oahu's main aquifer, but officials say water is safe to drink.
So, Sammy, I know this is always in the news, this topic, and there's been a number of issues and concerns there in the past, right?
Right. So this is just the most recent issue that has come up. Now, in May, more than 1,600 gallons of jet fuel leaked from a pipeline. The Navy blamed an operator for failing to properly close valves. Another investigation is underway to see if the military covered up a leak from a pipe at Red Hill. Thousands of gallons of fuel reportedly ended up near Pearl Harbor Visitor Center last year, and in 2014, 27,000 gallons of jet fuel leaked from an underground tank. The Navy has always maintained that the drinking water was never contaminated.
All right, so Sammy, I don't think a lot of folks out there, including myself, are too familiar with the history of this facility. What do you know?
So it was constructed in World War II. It took about 3 years to construct. The U.S. decided to make it to store fuel in a location hidden from possible enemy attacks. The EPA says the facility is unlike any other in the U.S. There's 20 vertical tanks that can store up to 250 million gallons of fuel. Each tank is about 250 feet tall, so pretty big, and 100 feet in diameter.
All right, Sammy, thanks for that update. We have all these details written up on your H&N digital platforms as well.
Health officials are concerned about the spread of COVID as holiday travel spikes. More than 100,000 people arrived in Hawaii between last Friday and Sunday. That's up from 69,000 arrivals the previous weekend, according to the Safe Travels program. An executive order also goes into effect today, mandating all federal employees to get a COVID vaccine or seek exemption. The White House says around 95% of the nation's 3.5 million federal workers have complied with the mandate, but according to reports, as of last Friday, about 40% of TSA staff are still unvaccinated. That's more than any other sector of the federal government and could impact the already busy holiday travel. Errol Barnett has more on that, plus an airport security scare over the weekend.
Panicked travelers ran from the Atlanta airport Saturday after gunfire at a security checkpoint.
The passenger lunged into his property, grabbing a firearm that was located inside, which ultimately discharged. The passenger then fled the security checkpoint through an adjacent exit lane.
Luckily, no one was seriously injured, but it did cause delays. Plus, many passengers had to abandon their luggage, with some being evacuated to the tarmac. Police now looking for the suspect, 42-year-old Kenny Wells. This security scare comes as more than 4 million Americans are expected to fly for the Thanksgiving holiday, more than an 80% increase from last year. Andrew Gross is spokesman for AAA.
Thanksgiving travel is back. I've heard it said that folks are looking at this as our first Vax-giving because more people ages 5 to 105 have at least one dose of vaccination, so people are just feeling more confident.
If you are driving instead of heading to the airport this week, expect congestion and high gas prices. The national average of a gallon of gas is projected to be its highest price in more than 7 years on Thanksgiving Day at $3.35. Still, more than 48 million Americans are expected to travel this holiday by car.
No matter how much gasoline prices are, people are still going to take that trip. They're just going to figure out another way of budgeting in for it.
Now, security checkpoints like what you see behind me are tallying more than 2 million passengers in recent days, and Monday is the deadline for TSA staff to be vaccinated. But they say they do not expect disruptions. The best advice is get to the airport 2 hours ahead of time if you're flying domestically, and if you're flying outside of the country, get here 3 hours early. Errol Barnett, CBS News at Atlanta International Airport.
With many more Americans now eligible for a COVID booster shot, some have questions on what to expect. Dr. Anthony Fauci spoke to CNN about just that.
The CDC says those over 65 or with underlying conditions should get boosters, but for everyone else, it only says they may get a booster. So can you clear this up for us? Do you recommend that every single American 18 and older get a booster shot?
Absolutely, Dana. Let's make it clear. You know, when there's lack of clarity, people get confused. They're not sure what to do. If you are 18 or older and you've been vaccinated, fully vaccinated with the Moderna or the Pfizer mRNA 6 months or more ago, get a booster. If it's J&J and it's 2 months ago or more, get a booster. I don't think we should get hung up on should, may. Just go out and get boosted. We know they're safe and we know they're highly effective in bringing very, very high up the optimization of your protection. So just go ahead and get boosted. Now's the time to do it. As we're getting into the holiday season, you want to be fully protected in the sense of getting optimal. I mean, the vaccines themselves clearly are still highly effective, but you want to make sure the durability of that protection is longer. And that's the reason why you get boosted, because we know no vaccine lasts forever. So the protection starts to wane a bit. And that's what the boost is all about. Bottom line, Dana, get boosted.
Thank you for clarifying that. It's so important. 2 months ago, the FDA rejected authorizing boosters for all adults. And former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb says the handling of boosters, quote, may end up being one of the biggest missed opportunities in this pandemic. I know you've always been pro-booster, but is he right?
Well, in certain respect, I think the lack of clarity was the thing that got people confused. And that's why myself and my colleagues are very pleased now we have clarity. And that's what you need, because the public cannot be confused. We have a very powerful tool at our disposal. Let's use it optimally and not get any lack of clarity in the way of doing it properly.
You've said hospitalizations for people who have had only 2 doses are actually ticking up. So does the definition of what constitutes fully vaccinated need to change now to include a booster shot?
We're going to follow that very carefully, Dana, and that's what we say, and that's what we mean when we say we let the science and the data follow. So we're going to take a look right now at what the durability is of the booster, and we're going to follow people who get boosted. We don't know right now. You have to be perfectly transparent and honest. We're going to be doing the best we can to keep the American public optimally protected. If that means that that's going to be a boost that will absolutely everyone will have to have, then so be it. We'll do it that way. But it will be guided by the science. And people should not be put off by the fact that as time goes by and we learn more and more about the protection, that we might modify the guidelines. That's what we've been saying all along. By follow the science, things change, and you have to follow the data.
Well, Austria, under a nationwide lockdown right now, people vaccinated or not can only go out for essential reasons for the next 20 days. Let's turn it over to Selma Abdelaziz with the very latest from Vienna.
A nationwide lockdown went into force here in Austria on Monday. You can see just behind me here, this is one of the country's iconic lockdown will be in place for at least 20 days. It's under review after 10 days, and it comes after a surge in coronavirus cases across the country. The government here is blaming the unvaccinated for the rising infection rates. About 1 in 3 Austrians has yet to be immunized despite being eligible. That's why Austria's chancellor wants to see restrictions that specifically target the unvaccinated in this country. So even when this nationwide lockdown is lifted, the unvaccinated will still have to live under these restrictions until they're immunized. And Austria is trying a bold new experiment. It wants to be the first country in Europe to mandate anyone who is eligible to get vaccinated by February 1st. There was huge opposition to this over the weekend. 40,000 people, police tell us, took to the streets of Vienna against lockdown, against the vaccine mandate. But we did also see that this mandate appeared to be working at one of the largest vaccination centers in the country here in Vienna. The operating manager told us he's seen a huge surge in people who are coming to get their first shot, finally coming forward to get immunized. He said about up to 20% of those at that vaccination center were getting their first shot. Meanwhile, the country's health minister says the health system is on the brink. This lockdown needs to remain in place until infection rates slow. Selma Abdelaziz, Vienna.
All right, let's get back to some developments from here at home. Taking you live outside via our tower cam pointed to the east side. I saw some rain showers just moments ago, but it does look like it's clearing up a bit. It's about 80 degrees out there right now as we speak. Let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy with an update of all the conditions.
We're in for a great day of weather. Now, there will be some showers, right, this morning for some windward and Waukesha areas. Drier by midday, if not a little bit later than that. And lots of leeward sunshine. The only weather alert, that small craft advisory for the waters around Maui and the Big Island. Surf's not all that great today, pretty small, but in the afternoon, maybe tonight, we're expecting a moderate boost coming into north and west shores. An even bigger swell, high surf advisory level swell, due in Wednesday into Thursday. That swell could trigger a high surf advisory, so heads up on that. Now, the weather's going to be drama-free with slightly slower trade winds by tomorrow, slightly more showers on Wednesday for those windward and Waukesha areas, and then beautiful conditions take over for Thanksgiving. So all in all, things are looking good for this holiday week.
Like so many cities across the country, the Ninth Island, Vegas, is facing many COVID challenges, but now one of Sin City's staples is hoping to beat the odds. Mark Strassman has the delicious story.
Las Vegas learned early how to satisfy any appetite. But before the Rat Pack crooned, acrobatics defied the laws of gravity, or divas demanded our adoration. 'Cause I'm your lady. Food took center stage. Now an American tradition, the all-you-can-eat buffet started here.
Friday nights we do a seafood night. We'll go through 3,500 pounds of crab legs in one night.
Michael Kennedy oversees this buffet at the South Point Hotel Casino off the Strip. 7 days a week, roughly 2,500 grazing gamblers eat here. It's old school Vegas value. A $9.95 breakfast includes bottomless Bloody Marys.
We are a loss leader. We're here to draw guests into our casino, and it certainly works.
It's worked for Vegas since the early 1940s, when El Rancho Casino opened the first Vegas buffet. Cost $1. By the 1950s, most major casinos offered midnight chuck wagon buffets.
Come here, play, eat here, go back and play some more.
Anthony Curtis publishes the Las Vegas Advisor.
A lot of it has been every next buffet trying to do better than the one before it.
Which makes it like every other part of Vegas.
Vegas is the most competitive city in the world. Buffet is like a microcosm for Vegas itself.
But starting last March here, nothing could compete with COVID. Sin City shut down. All 60 Vegas buffets stopped serving. Only 11 have reopened.
Anything you need, my friend, let us know, okay?
Including the Bacchanal Buffet at Caesar's Palace. $75, the priciest pig out in the city.
Do we have the quail today, or are we missing the quail?
Jennifer Murphy is the executive chef here, responsible for its 9 kitchens, feeding 3,200 people a day.
Does the buffet reflect the general decadence of Vegas in general?
Oh, 100%. If you walk through our buffet, you will have exactly that sensory overload. You don't know where to start, where to begin.
Another hunger driving many buffet goers to run for seconds and thirds is psychological.
Everybody wants to beat Vegas. And one way they think they can do it is by out-eating them in the buffet.
Jeff Pugh owns Freedom Meats, the largest supplier for Vegas buffets. 35,000 pounds of meat a week. But at COVID's peak, nothing went out the door.
Will it ever get back to what it was?
I believe so. It's the fabric of the city, and customers expect it. And it's part of the draw.
Like the Bacchanal Buffet. It reopened in May after 14 months.
The buffets were the very first thing to close down. And then the Strip closed down right after. I think it's a huge indicator that Vegas is back.
That means 2 things. Millions every year will leave Vegas poorer, but no one will leave here hungry. Mark Strassman, CBS News.
The hummus is good.
Yeah. Eating myself silly in Las Vegas.
Oh, Mark, making me hungry.
$1 buffet?
Yeah, can you imagine?
Oh, man.
I didn't realize that one's so expensive, $275. Woo. All right, some good news for fans of GM vehicles. They are now going to be able to provide one of their popular features on their cars, heated front seats. I love those. It's shocking how many people actually use and have them in the islands.
Do you use them here?
I mean, I think I used them the one time I got in your car.
Yeah.
When you were showing it off.
After the skating rink, maybe?
Yeah. The car maker says it has figured out a way to do all this. So last week they said they weren't going to be able to offer them on their 2022 vehicles because of that big computer chip shortage. Now dealerships will be able to retroactively add this feature to vehicles at no cost to customers, but it likely won't happen in time for winter on the mainland. They say this really won't be offered until about mid next year.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a cool feature.
It is.
Not necessary, but...
not here.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't miss those cold days at all.
Oh, I bet you
Let's
don't.
take it down under.
Yeah, I love this video. So millions of red crabs have started the long crawl, marking their annual migration to the coast of Christmas Island. Now, the migration begins when the first rains start during the wet season in the Australian territory in the Indian Ocean, and it takes months of preparation each year for the employees of the Christmas Island National Park. They put in place miles of road barriers and signs to make sure the crabs go over specially built bridges. Now, the crabs move in huge numbers from their forest home to the sea, and spawning is expected to take place around the end of the month. Now, each female crab can release up to 100,000 eggs into the ocean, and it's expected to result in baby crabs, which will then return to the shore a month later and make their way back to the forest.
Ooh, close up, those are a little gnarly.
Yeah. Our girl Adele, you guys, she's fresh off the success of her CBS special, and now she's debuting a televised concert in her home country this Sunday. So the special, titled An Audience with Adele, will be broadcast exclusively on the British network ITV. Now, the singer has taken the top spot on the UK charts and broke the national record for streams with the single Easy on Me, probably one of my favorites from the album. Her latest album, 30, dropped Friday, and Spotify says it already stands as one of the most successful releases ever by a female artist. She also set another kind of record by being the first person to appear on the cover of both the British and American editions of November's Vogue magazine.
You go, Adele.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, speaking of music, those playoff rounds continue tonight on KHNL. We're talking about The Voice with the top 11. Let's turn it over to Mark Barger with more on that.
Jiminy, you are moving on, Team Kelly. That final spot in tonight's top 11 came courtesy of an instant save by Voice fans.
When it came down to voting for me in the instant save, they really came through.
Now we get to say thank you to our fans.
Yes, it is Fan Week. Tonight, the fans will have an impact even before the voting starts.
This is the most fun I think I'll have. I've been so serious.
All of the artists will be singing a song suggested by fans.
This is so cool.
Yeah, I like this song.
This is really cool. I'm so excited.
Hopefully you guys will see like a new, more exciting side of me that you haven't seen yet.
Or in some cases, what fans haven't heard yet.
Man, that big stuff you're hitting is gold.
For the people watching the show and my fans to hear a radio song and have the confidence that I can do it, want to hear me do it, that means a lot.
New fans sent in plenty of suggestions, but so did longtime followers.
Good choice, yeah.
What we're going to bring will definitely remind those fans of how we got started.
It's a way of saying thanks to fans who've already had an impact on the artists.
They got impeccable taste, I'll tell you that much, you know. So this is gonna be fun.
Voice fans would expect nothing less.
Okay, so it's gonna be so great. Fan Week, you're gonna kill it.
Mark Barger, NBC News.
Don't forget, that airs tonight on KHNL. Also, don't forget that Ashley's going to be back here with you at 4 on First at 4, which is also on KHNL. We have a lot of news to get to still for that show. And don't forget, there's going to be no This Is Now on Thursday or Friday because of the holidays. So you guys have a safe afternoon. Again, Ashley's back at 4.
Aloha.